Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the winter holiday season with this week's episode of the Spooky Second podcast with your host, the Alfred State Paranormal Investigation and Urban Exploration Club. This week, three of our members, JD, the club president, Liz, the vice president, and Molly, the public relations officer, will be talking to our guest, Megan, deputy. Megan is a paranormal investigator and a witch. She uses a lot of her practices stemming from her experience with witchcraft to help conduct investigations with the Ghost Finders team on VIDI Space, YouTube, and several other platforms. Due to electronic issues, Molly will be doing this interview with Megan, deputy.
And yeah, I'll say it again, we're here. I'm here with these wonderful hosts, and we're going to talk about witchcraft and working in the paranormal. And this is Molly. I'm kind of obsessed with her glasses and her lip color. And then tell me, what's the college you guys are from again? Tell me a little bit about your paranormal group.
We are in a little town in New York called Alfred. And so we go to Alfred State. And this club, John founded, I think, last year. It was the first paranormal club of this college. And so we, in light of not being able to investigate so much, we have started podcasts where we want to bring on a special guest who have had paranormal experiences or are you are so deeply involved in this community.
That's awesome. So yeah, I'm very happy to be here with you guys. And yeah, we'll definitely keep hashing it out and making it work. Let me see if I can add. Is he JD Curry 18? No?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay, let's see. He joined. So you can actually, you should see a bottom button, John, and it should say request to be in the video. Yeah.
I am in the room.
And then if we can't, and I've had multiple people at the same time, I want to say, but if we can't bring him on, if he wants to just ask questions through chat, and then if you want to ask me questions too, we can definitely do that.
Let's see. Are you allowed to add a third person?
Already sent it. Okay.
Happened.
Share. That's me sharing a photo. Whoop. Nope. Let's not do that. Nope. No. Okay. That is thing. Thank you. Yeah, I love this Joker too. Appreciate you. Yeah, I'm not sure. Well, boo. You let me know if I can join another person, but I tell you what, let's go. I think if he leaves the stream and joins again, he can request again and it should pop up. Try that then, John. Thank you. Oh my goodness. Jude, I miss you. JC Julep, lots of love. We need to hang out sometime soon. Man, I've barely been in town, and then when I have been, I've been working. I've been on a TV show here in Charlotte doing makeup in between everything. So it's been great. Yeah, let me try again. Okay, John, believe in you. But yeah, like I tell you what, Molly, let's go ahead and kick this off. What's the first question you'd like to ask?
The first question is, how did you get started with witchcraft?
So that, I would say really all started for me with my grandparents, my nanny and dads. They were eclectic world travelers. And so I was raised in understanding like all different cultures, as well as like loving the arts more than anything, because that is what truly makes us human, and studying history and how to create whether it be writing, artwork, or just the craft. There's a lot of like true magic in that. So they helped raise me with that appreciation for different worldviews, as well as like they had spirits inside their house as well. My mom was raised in a house with tons of different spirits. And it was a little bit harder for her to accept, but so that's why she was very surprised that I had the gifts that I did and I embraced them a little bit more. She was apprehensive. So it was a whole practical magic situation, and she was kind of like Sally and was like, I just want to be normal. And my grandparents were like, all right, you just do, that's fine. We're not going to pressure you to do anything. And they didn't. So I've grown up having a relationship with spirits and understanding the veil and witchcraft myself. After my grandparents passed away years ago, I've been this solitary practitioner and studied many different things. And I've had a community come about that I found here in North Carolina, mainly starting with Hedera Binewood, or Laughing Brook. And she had a wonderful school and shop. Right now, everything's kind of in transition, so it's not open right now, but you can still listen to her. She has a podcast called Incantation Nation, and she's still teaching. She's the witch who married my husband and I too. And she's taught me many things. And our community of witches, we call ourselves the village. So it's not a coven and it's not a hierarchy. We are all villagers in this together. So, yeah.
Incantation Nation.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that sounds good, John. Yeah, I don't see another request by you. So, yeah, if you want to just type in and ask us some questions, we'll just keep it going like this, if that's all right. And then, guys, feel free, if you want to do this again another time, I'm more than happy. I don't go back on the TV show I'm working with until January 3rd. So you guys let me know.
So, what is the first spell or ritual you participated in?
That's kind of hard to pinpoint because, again, I've been doing the craft since a very, very young age. I would say me just out in the woods speaking with the spirits that resided there. There was like a bunch of earth spirits that I would talk to at a very young age. And one of my vivid memories, and that kind of freaked my mom out a little bit, I had one of those movie moments where I was very young in my crayon drawings. I was drawing a bunch of women in a circle dancing naked together ever before I saw anything or watched that in a movie. And it was close to Samhain, so I was just posting up a bunch of little crayon drawings and stuff. And it's really cool because it showed this deep understanding and knowledge of stuff before I was ever taught that. And it kind of like freaked my mom out a little bit, again, because she was a Sally and kind of wanted to remain normal. And then later looking back, now she is very supportive of me, and is like, I'm proud of you. I can't do it, but I'm glad you can. And you're a lot like your grandmother. But I would say that's one of my most vivid memories of just having that connection, because ritual and spell work doesn't always have to come from a book. It doesn't have to be really big or planned. That craft and that magic lives inside you, and it can come out in intent. It can come out in a conversation with a spirit and a bunch of things like that. So I would say that's some of my first memories. And then I can talk to you about a rite later. That's like a big ritual, which does take a lot of prep and, you know, how would say it, like forethought and planning. So, yeah.
Oh, so what is a rite?
A rite is kind of like your own, they're big formal rituals. I like to perform a rite when I feel like I have another spiritual doorway to open or something to showcase. Um, my first rite happened when I want to say 13, 12 years old, might have been 14. But I was out in the woods at night by myself, and one of the rites is you actually just have to spend a night alone. You could either be in the woods or a place that has a bunch of spirits interacting. So you could be in an old haunted mansion or something to that nature. And you just lie there still and are kind of focusing your thoughts to not have that anxiety or fear. So I'm in the most beautiful, it looks like the Sleepy Hollow tree of the dead, laying in between its roots on a bed of leaves. And I'm just looking out through the trees and seeing their silhouettes. And I was doing really well, and I heard like footsteps approaching and like twigs snapping, and I could feel like, oh man, what is it going to be like? Am I safe out here? Which is definitely tell people where you are. Don't just disappear and go out into the woods without, be safe. But I like focused that anxiety and fear and didn't let it move me or anything. And I saw a beautiful stag at the top of the like landline there that I could see where the stars are. And it like turned and it like looked at me, and I had like a moment of breath. So it's almost like, a way to describe it is like Buddhist monk training of the mind. So that rite has over the years helped me, and I think you've maybe even seen this with me interacting with spirits and how some people can get like, oh no, and there's moments where it's like, it's okay. Don't have that anxiety. It exists. It's here with us. It's a part of nature. That deer, this is its home. I am here in its place. You know, this is just how it is. So it's almost like muscle working out, but those muscles in the mind. So different rites have different purposes. And I've done 3 big rites in my life. There's another witch that I'm planning to have a very sacred rite coming up. He's like my brother. His name is Frankie. I love him. But that is mainly honoring our God when we do perform that rite. So they're kind of like your own personal life achievement slash, I don't know how to say it, like self-promises. Not a baptism, but kind of, but for your own soul and mind.
Yeah, it does sound like a rite of passage.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's very cool. That's very beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah. Powerful. You mentioned your God. Do you have like a patron God?
I have a number of gods that I follow. The old one is, I would say, like the one that I like feel really close to. That's who I would like always feel standing kind of behind me, and that's like the witch's old one, the man in black, the father of witches. And there's a lot of like history in that. It's not the Wiccan horn god. The old one kind of predates a lot of Wiccan traditions. I love Jim Gary, so I always like to give book recommendations. Troy Books from the UK and Jim Gary has wonderful books talking about the old one and the witches kind of god. So that's where you'll get a lot of that, horned one kind of vibe, and everybody's like, ooh, it's Satan. No, it's not Satan. This predates that, and also we'll get into art history later, but if you actually read the Bible front to back, Lucifer is not depicted as a horned devil at all. He's a shape-shifting angel. And in art history, they actually took the visage of Pan, or the old one, and they took our God and kind of painted it on their Satan, their Lucifer. So that's why, yeah, if you try and find a description of the devil like a goated horned being, it's not in the Bible. He's beautiful, he's an angel, and a shapeshifter, but not once described like that. In the book of Revelations, you'll have the beast with 7 heads, or a dragon, but no such goat creature at all.
How do you spell Jim Majory?
Oh, which one?
Jim Majory.
Oh, Gemma-Gary.
McGarry.
Gemma, and then Gary.
Could I get that one more time?
No, you're totally fine. Gemma, and then Gary. She has an Instagram too, and if you look up the Museum of Witchcraft in Cornwall, you'll see a bunch of her stuff. So that's a bunch of traditional witchcraft, really old, lots of earth magic, cunning folk magic. It's truly beautiful. There's a lot of history in it. I love her books. She has a book on rites for the old one as well. The Black Toad is just beautiful magic. Love it. Hey Neve. I have a bunch of friends. How you doing, girl? If anybody has some like fun witchcraft questions too, feel free to throw them out. But Molly has a wonderful list, and I'm so excited. Yes, Odie, you should totally look up Gemma. She has a few podcasts too, and her voice is a dream. You can look up On the Black Chair and listen to some Gemma-Gary. She is senpai.
Awesome. So, yeah, I see a lot of people kind of like defining themselves as sort of like a genre of witch, and I was wondering, like, I hear kitchen witch, and then I hear like more like dark or light practicing, and I was wondering if you had a certain focus that you thought you align with.
That's a really wonderful question. And people are welcome to label themselves if they wish. I don't think that they necessarily should. So, because we can all do some different aspects of magic, but sometimes we specialize in certain things. I am eclectic, but I would say my main focus is speaking with spirits and the dead, and I feel very strong in earth magic, but I use all element magic and just magic and intent every day. And I have a wonderful relationship with a bunch of my different deities, as well as like spirit others. Sometimes they're human spirits, sometimes they're not. Like, that's all an encompassing relationship when you're a witch. But the dark and light question, that's where it gets really good. I don't believe in dark or light magic. Magic is magic, and that all lies in the intent and focus of what you're doing. So a little story that I'll tell is, like, you could say, I'm going to perform magic to help my friend get this job. You could do that in 2 ways. You could say, oh, I want to help her just be the best that she could be, and she shines bright and she gets the job. Or you could say, I hope she gets the job. I hope nobody else shows up and she gets the job. Like, everybody else is like sick and stuff like that. And that just showcases the same outcome, but 2 different ways of intent. But if you had to use protective magic or stand your ground and you know, if somebody was coming after a family member and using ill intent at them, you can also mirror that back. It's all perspective. So labeling something as dark is just saying that a thunderstorm is bad. You can't necessarily say that. Again, it's a part of nature, and it all lies with what you're truly trying to accomplish, because everything can be gray. It all depends on perspective. That's like even getting into the debate, oh, well, you should never kill a person, right? Like, you know, well, what if it's self-defense? Like that's like dark and light magic is just like trying to get in and defining exactly what sin is. It's messy business. It all depends. And the only person who can say is the witch themselves. So no, I don't practice just light magic. I don't practice just dark magic. I just have that magic flow through me in every situation.
Awesome. So I've seen you use an athame, I think, or in your practice a lot, and I was wondering what that was symbolic for you. Or
so yeah, there's different tools that you can use for different rituals and magics. I also have a wand too that I use, but the athame or athame, that sometimes with using that in your circle, it's kind of like fire magic. It's a little bit more instant and it has a little bit more oomph to it. So remember, with magic, it's kind of like in the craft, you're speaking in symbolisms. It's almost like math equations, but it's different representations. So when I'm using my athame, I'm making the point where like this needs to pour through in this space now, where a wand would be maybe a little bit more like air magic. Like this magic can take its time and go in the time it should, and let those elements use their wisdom and stuff too. So yeah, there's different things. Like the chalice might be a representation of water magic, theme more fire, wand more air. It's all different symbolism. So I use that a lot to activate my circle, or to put different sigils into the air to make it kind of happen right then and there. That's why I use it.
it sort of got me thinking about blood magic, which sort of, I think it might be part of why witchcraft sort of got a bad recommendation, because it is said to be very powerful. And I think that scares people. But do you play with it at all, or do you think it's like untouchable, like we shouldn't touch it?
There is no magic necessarily that, if it is in the path of that witch and in their tradition that they're comfortable with, it's not for anybody to judge what they should or should not do. I actually do use blood magic because blood is your signature. It is everything that you are. So that's where you get that symbolic like gesture of like signing a contract and stuff with blood. That's your name. So no, it doesn't mean you're doing deals every time you're using blood magic. It's just like sometimes using your spit. It's a part of you. It is everything that you are going into your magic. Only if you're using it in an ill way would it be considered, you know, something that would have negative connotation. But blood magic itself, no. There's just, over time and Hollywood and stuff made it a little bit more scary. And also, I think a lot of people just fear what they don't understand. And I only use blood magic with my own blood. I don't ever do any, like, you know, stuff with animal blood or
Yeah.
sacrifices and stuff like that, that's no. But if somebody would say, oh, blood magic is evil, and blood magic might be a part of a lot of hoodoo and voodoo, excuse me, you have no right to call voodoo evil or anything that you're not certain exactly what you're talking about. And excuse me, Catholicism, but there's a lot of blood symbolism in there, because that's exactly when you're drinking the blood of Christ or eating of his flesh, it is that essence that is him, his spirit, his signature. That's where that all comes from. Like, there is just a universal understanding of certain things, and you'll find that in every religion and every culture, just like there is stories of spirits in every culture before we could even talk to each other across the world. Unless everybody was daydreaming and imagining the same story, there might be some just truth and spiritual deep down knowledge in that. And that's where people who have that tapped in and that magic and connection inside themselves kind of feel and know that without even being taught.
I love that. On another note, do you have a favorite herb?
It's hard to pick just one. I would have to say, I guess, mugwort. I really love mugwort in ritual because it's an amplifier. So if I'm wanting to like send out my gift in the opening ritual that I have for all of the spirits there, so I'm like making a bouquet to introduce myself and present it to all of the spirits that are there. I like to use mugwort because what that does is it is like a little bit of a loudspeaker, and it also helps give more energy and vibrations into the gift that I'm giving. And it also is wonderful to help kind of tap you into the veil. And it is great in dealing with the dreamscape. So if you put like mugwort under your pillow or put it in your tea, have it like an incense, it really helps kind of tap you in. So since I specialize in speaking with spirits, I would say if I had to choose one, mugwort.
That's perfect. I'm reading it's also used like medicinally for digestive issues. And I feel like that's like the sacral chakra, which is like where a lot of creativity is.
Yeah, and you'll find little parallels in science and magic a lot, which is like really cool. Like how different stones and crystals have different vibrations, and how they'll kind of tune in with different magics and stuff like that. Like magic, we're all like agreeing and using different words. Like there is something there, that universal law, that knowledge. And it's cool when we actually have the technology and science is able to be like, oh yeah, maybe there is something to what these, witches out in the woods were doing, playing with rocks. Huh. Well, that's cool.
Yes, I see like science as trying to explain magic or vice versa. It'll never really truly be there. And I think that's built into it.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite crystal? Or
I would say my favorite stone is obsidian. I love obsidian. To me, that is, I'm drawn to it. Its vibrations, it's all of the meaning that it has. It's very protective. It acts as a mirror as well. And a lot of the deities that I respect as well kind of, use it to communicate. So I absolutely love obsidian. And for all you nerds out there, that's also dragon glass in Game of Thrones. So it's beautiful. You can even have it, a theme is made out of it. But I always keep a little bit of obsidian on me at times for protection. You can also use jet. Jet is like the witch's armor, but obsidian is self-cleansing, so you don't have to like cleanse it, and it does kind of dissipate negative energy. Jet will also shield you and soak up negative energy, but you need to make sure to wring out that sponge at different times.
Do you find you need to cleanse obsidian less often?
You don't always need to, but I always like to treat it with respect. I'll just put it on my altar or my pentacle at different times as well. Because just like stones and crystals have different vibrations, they're living things. So you treat them like you would like your little, very old and wiser than you friend that you're taking care of, because you can learn a bunch from them too. I also love fluorite because it helps kind of clean all of the little fuzzy daydreams and head fog, and helps focus again on the dreamscape, which is a lot of my magics take place on the dreamscape or across the veil.
And another question is, if you have a choice divinity method, or do you practice using like different divinity tools in your work?
It all depends on the situation and the magic. Or do you mean like divination or different deities?
Yes, divination, yeah.
Gotcha. So the witch I mentioned earlier, and is actually the mother of Neve, who I said hi to, taught me lithomancy a long time ago. And that's reading with stones, so casting stones. And one of the most, just I would say, accurate to the day description readings I've ever had was from Hedera using lithomancy. And so I've been practicing that over the years, and I really love the outcomes of using that. I do also do tarot, but I don't ever like charge for it, or I feel like I get more of the things that I need to know through the dreamscape and through dream work. So I've had a lot of spirits come to me, either like while I'm in that dream state, or I will see them when I'm kind of peering through the veil, and I'll get those much more deep, accurate kind of conversations back and forth. Sometimes you won't know what it means until a little bit later, but I do use divination here and there, and it's always good to use your cards to kind of help sort out your thoughts, but it's not something I would say I pour a ton of my energy into. It's more one of those tools that I use just alongside everything, but I focus more of my energy on my relationship and communication with the others, so human spirits, elementals, and my deities.
So I have heard of like celebrities having a circle of witches that work to protect them.
Mm-hmm.
And so I know like you're somehow acquainted with Oprah, so I thought you might be a good person to ask about this.
Thanks. I am nowhere acquainted with her at all, but I am. The TV show I was saying I work on right now is produced by Oprah, so I haven't had a conversation with her or anything like that. So I am in no position to speak for that. But I would say, like, yeah, everybody has their own different ways of just, how would you say, like, grounding themselves, feeling protected, sending out different prayers. So yeah, like there's so many different techniques and stuff out, and beliefs. Definitely there has to be some celebrities that use protection from witches. Listen, our president of the United States back in the day, Marie Laveau herself was actually healing. I want to say it was like, it wasn't smallpox, something to that case. And back in history, and she treated the president of the United States at that time. Like, people always have been like, you know what, maybe it might be something I can't put my finger on, or I don't have that expertise. Let me go request the help of somebody who can work with spirits or in different ways. So most definitely that does exist, but I can't speak for who does what. That's for sure. And that's their own private affair, you know? So.
Of course. Yeah, since you're a makeup artist, I also wanted to ask if you have any favorite makeup brands or products.
Definitely. Oh, thanks for asking. Yeah, no, I've been a makeup artist for many years. Now I'm a union makeup artist, so I work on a lot of movies and TV. But I also love, because I was a MAC girl back in the day as well. So I have my advanced with MAC Cosmetics. I love a lot of their products, and there's really wonderful. I mean, if you watch Lord of the Rings, Maleficent, that was like all MAC. Goldmind was the little bit of gold in her eye, and all of the foundation. Like, yeah, it looks amazing on camera. You just have to know how to apply it. I also love Temp 2 because I do a lot of airbrush on set a lot. And then my favorite brand, just like because of aesthetic, pigment, I've used that on set all the time, is Lunatic Cosmetics. Oh, they have an Elvira palette. Need I say more? Like, all of my spooky people out there, you gotta try some Lunatic. I adore them. They even have a mattifying setting powder. It's mystifying mattifying powder, and it's a little planchette, and I adore it. I keep it in my set bag because I can open it with one hand and do last looks easy peasy and just be like, spooky flare, bye-bye. Looks are clear. So those are my favorite brands.
Oh, Odin has a question. It's in case someone encounters a hostile spirit, how do you recommend?
So the first thing anyone wants to do is, like, when you're starting to like work in, when I say work, like just kind of exist, flex those muscles in the spirit world, you have to know your own energy and your own magics. And the first thing you would do would be to ground yourself, feel everything that is you, and also you can put up a wall. So again, that technique I was talking about before of not letting that fear and anxiety in, because that makes vibrations of doubt and all of that, and something you're then manifesting something negative, that something negative might be able to use and kind of pull through and be like Winnie from Hocus Pocus and be like, and kind of suck that in. And so you don't want to do that. So you would ground yourself, kind of be calm and chill, and make sure to not, something hostile is trying to get into you, just kind of surround yourself with your own magics. You can imagine light. I usually like to go with like purple, dark, like electricity. I geeked out years ago because like one of the first times I saw that kind of representation was Dark Willow from Buffy. So just like, smoke and purple lightning, just like, do not mess with me. No, kind of thing. And it again, it has to speak to who you are. So another witch who's a friend of mine, she likes to imagine vines all around her. That's what makes her feel comfortable and powerful and feel safe and protected. So you have to do what's right for you. Odin, for you, maybe an anime transition, like, and tons of sparkling lights and little like stars, like whatever makes you feel at home, because your imagination and what you're putting forth in intent and that you connect with is your own stronger magic. So for me, the witch I was mentioning before, Markin, she imagines vines. And it's not really as hits home with me as more of my like purple lightning and just everything that I feel is me, you know? So yeah, thanks for the question, Odin. And somebody else asked about my atheme. I use that kind of like a wand, my friends, to help kind of what it does, a wand or an atheme, when you're churning that magic and pulling that through yourself, it is kind of casting it out into the intent and direction and what you're trying to put forth. That's why we'll use those tools to kind of cast our circle. Haha, something chaotic for sure. Yes, so lots of sparkles and sound effects and all the chaos, Odin. That would keep you safe.
So have you ever had encountered like a very terrifying energy beyond the veil?
Yeah, there are some that are out there, but I always like to say it's just like people you meet on the street. So you've been through cities and stuff, I'm sure every day, and met so many people. The majority of them are pretty chill. Maybe sometimes they're grumpy. Not everybody's super nice, and you don't want to be friends with everybody. But in your lifetime, you very rarely run into somebody that you're just like, ooh, they might just straight up murder me. So the spirit world's a lot like that too. There was one time I entered a location, and it was actually a graveyard of a church that had been abandoned and like cleared away for some very weird activity. My husband and I went there, you know, just to get the lay of the land and stuff, because that's what I love to do, is just explore places where spirits are active. And I got up kind of close towards the threshold of the graveyard, and I just had this wash of, okay, I am not welcome here. People aren't welcome here. This is just, your spidey sense just knows certain times. So I respected that and backed away. And I say this too, again, my forest reference. In the woods, there are many different beings and animals. There's birds, there's deer, there's squirrels, there's also grizzly bears. And if you know all of the spirits of the forest and you know how to interact with them, you know what to do and what not to do if you run into a mama grizzly bear, right? So those kind of spirits are the same. Sometimes those are ancient deity or beings that deserve to be respected. And they're like, listen, little human, I don't have time for you right now. And that's okay. You know, we cannot be so arrogant or think that we deserve, like, if I want to go like kind of Pocahontas with it, you know, you can't think whatever land you land on, you claim. Like, no, the earth is not just a dead thing you can claim. Like, there is beings that are older than us that deserve to be respected. And if they don't want to interact with you, that's fine. Just because a grizzly bear can hurt us does not mean we have the right to go and kill all of them in the woods, right? No, they're a part of nature too and deserve that respect. So we should take the knowledge to understand what not to do and what to do. That's how I would say it.
And on the contrary to that, do you have like your most heartwarming moment?
Yeah, there's been a lot of times where my nanny and dads have popped in. We actually captured the voice of my grandmother. It was really cute. She was like behind me. I smelled her perfume, and she was like playing with my hair. And Rob was like, "Oh, is she here?" And you hear her voice go, "Sit down," because she like got up in his space, or he got up in her space, and it was really adorable. There was gentleman who I named Cowboy, because I never got his name, but he was just like the greatest jokester and became a friend of mine throughout the years that I ran into at, I want to say, the Wayne Hotel years ago on season 7 or season 8. And then a spirit named Emily. She actually hangs out at my house and stuff now. So we have like a little bed and breakfast of spirits is what I call it. They come and like go, and everybody kind of is calm and chill, but she likes to hang out in the living room at times, and there'll be different FaceTimes or podcasts. We've actually captured her voice on Curse podcasts. Wonderful. You guys should definitely check them out and listen to it. We captured her giggle after mentioning her a few times. And there's been different witches when I first had her appear at the house. They like instantly called it out and described her without being told anything. So it's really cool and heartwarming to be continuing to make new friends in the spirit world.
So how does it feel like when you encounter spirit? Like, how does it feel with your senses? Like,
that's a good question. I would say, you know, when you're like playing that game and you can sense somebody is like behind you and you can kind of feel how tall they are just by the different changes of pressure in the room. Like, so my spidey sensor, like my bat sense for spirits is kind of like that. I can usually be like, okay, so this feels like there's a woman here. And then I'll pick up on like different emotions. It's not so much words. I describe it a lot as like songs. So a lot of people and their energy to me have like different songs. And like, okay, so how I would describe yours, like, would be you remind me of like a little bit of acoustic guitar with like a really pretty, almost Zooey Deschanel voice going with it, but you're very steady. And then it's like a little upbeat, but a little bit quirky too. And there might be like a little bit of a ukulele that goes in there. But it's very fresh, overall calming, peaceful, but still like upbeat. So people like that have different kind of vibrations and songs. So there'll be some, like, gentlemen have a lot more bass sometimes with things. And that's kind of a way I can describe it with different spirits and what it feels like with my spidey sense. And then I'll hear little bits through emotions or words that will kind of pop into my head, or feelings. And then actually physically touching one is so cool, because wind blows, you can feel it move. Water, you can kind of feel that too. But imagine like water and air mixed together, stagnant, and like putting your hand in a floating, almost frozen water bubble. That's what it kind of feels like to actually physically be in the same dimension and space as a spirit.
We've got a good question from producer Ashley.
Mm-hmm.
How do you handle environments that are highly active when you're doing normal life?
Oh, normal life? Oh, yeah. There's, again, it's all about grounding yourself and stuff. I actually had talent the other day because we were in a funeral home, and it's so cute. Some people, while I'm working, will ask me about ghost finders and different things like that, and I'm like, thanks guys, like, you know, while I'm just like doing their makeup. And they were like, what are you feeling and stuff here? And I was like, well, I am picking up on a couple of entities, but they're very chill. Nothing is like desperate or manic or anything with malintent, but you do have that ability to kind of go, okay, I'm going to kind of focus in on right now this world. You can choose to say, all right, I'm going to put outgoing message, and then I can listen to all of my voice messages. You can nicely hang up the phone with that kind of communication line. I think where people who don't know, when they start opening themselves up, and they will leave the phone off the hook, and all of these spirits are like, hello, 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 and it's kind of your own fault because you dialed in and you didn't formally say goodbye and in that interaction with them. So yeah, there are times where I have to focus a little bit harder to be like, lots of love, we can talk later, please find me at appropriate time, but right now I need to finish doing this makeup. I cannot listen to what you're telling me right now. And a lot of the times where they will find me is the dreamscape, or if I'm opening up that communication formally, having a tea party kind of for the dead and be like, all right, now who wants to talk? Let's all sit down, and you from months ago, Jerry, how's it been? You know, so that's what I'd say.
Do you ever need to go on, like, do things for the dead? Do they ever ask for, like, favors like that?
Sometimes, but more it's just they want that conversation. For instance, and this is really cool because this was captured in a live when we went to Virginia recently. And I was at, okay, sorry guys, I just like went back there. So I was having reoccurring dreams of a soldier, and we went to a location, and I thought I would maybe see him there, and I had an interaction with one, but the signature didn't fit right. The song that I kept hearing with that spirit in the dream didn't feel right. And on a random location, it was on one of Daniel Clays's live videos. We were out in the woods by a battlefield, and the spirit keeps going, Megan, Megan, there you are. And he was like, and he says his name. I'm sorry, I forget Henry. Yes, Henry was his name. And he was like, it's Henry, there you are. I've met there. Like, he kept going on, and then I like had flashes back of the dreams, and I was like, yes. And what's cool is I talked to my team about this, and I even talked about it on a previous episode before we were even there. So it was not off the fly. And he asked me to help with magics where he was kind of stuck in this one dimension, and I could hear his song, his vibration, kind of hold his hand while pulling back the curtain to another place where he could go. And it wasn't passing on or anything like that, just he needed that connection and reassurance, because sometimes it's just like your anxiety and that mental muscle, like he's the one who controls where he goes, but sometimes you just need a therapist to talk to. And divination and witches and stuff, we're kind of like the OG therapist, you know, like in certain ways, like we are different, we're healers, we help you look at those cards, think about what's going on in your future, the question you're asking in a different perspective. We're not saying like this is what will happen, like, but if you keep, you know, choosing this might be an outcome. There's another parable. Sometimes you're walking through life just looking at your feet and using divination or talking with spirits gives you time to pause, look around and be like, oh yeah, there's a cliff coming up here. Maybe I'll change this direction, because if you just kept looking at your feet, you might not have seen that. until you had fallen. So, yeah. Sorry for all of the, I will get very philosophical and take you all around the world in one question. I'm sure you guys have gotten used to that by now.
We've got a question from Bearded Paranormal. I'm not sure what this is, but he's asking about a ghost hunt at the Hindsdale House. So, sounds kind of violent to me.
Oh, was he asking about when Rob got shoved a little bit? Or which one?
He's asking if you're going to host a ghost hunt.
Are you going to host at Hindsdale? I would love to. The one to ask is Daniel Clay's, and he has a bunch of different events and stuff going on. The Hindsdale House is one of my favorite locations. I was asking about, when you said like negative, I was like, I don't even think, even though Rob did get kind of like taken aback, and there's a bunch of different entities there, it's not dangerous at all. That to me is one of my favorite family reunion places with spirits. And I had a wonderful time there with some fellow witches and partners of mine that I just got to interact with the same spirits that are my friends. There's some ancients there, and being able to do ritual and respect them and kind of speak with those ancients again, it's wonderful. So again, to be respected, not necessarily feared, but I would love to do all of the things at Hindsdale. It just depends on, time and how we're able to do that. It's booked a lot because it is one of the most haunted places in the US. And Dan's taken such good care of it. It's a beautiful place. If anybody gets the opportunity to go, you definitely should.
Yeah, what you said about paranormal investigators being therapists, Dan Klaus, he also said something very similar about that.
Oh, nice.
I feel. So JD's wondering what it was like to work with Rob Thompson, as seeing him as a transitive medium.
Oh, it's been wonderful. Like, we have such a great group together with the Ghost Finders. And we all have different gifts that work together. So Rob can see these like HD images and stuff where I'll only pick up the emotions and songs, but I'll be able to talk to the spirit. So he can see what maybe has happened in the past, and he can communicate with them too, but me being a little bit more formal, using my ritual to introduce ourselves, show our intent, hand those spirits the bouquet, kind of reading the room. I mean, like, okay, so there is some human entities here, but there's also ancient who deserves some respect. Let me give you this, my friend. Here is all of the respect to you. And you know what? We won't bother you at all. You don't even have to talk to us if you don't want to. And then they're usually like, well, thank you. Most people ask me a bunch of things and call me a demon and ask me to jump through hoops all the time. But you, okay, you know what? Maybe we'll give you a little bit of this back and forth. So we've had wonderful interactions and even captured some really, really powerful beings and their voices, or just ancient human spirits too. So we're all such a wonderful team. Rob's really great. I'm really proud of him too, because he's, over the years, like we were saying too, he would have a lot of stuff like kind of go through him, and he's learning to be able to kind of shield himself even more while still having that process go on. So witches, we were raised with that balance and grounding and that relationship with spirits. We know how to interact with all of the different animals out in the forest. And over time, and Melody, so good to see you. Love you. Oh, so much. I'm so proud of you, and I'm so happy Melody is on our team with the Ghost Finders. And I'm like, yes, I missed you so much. I first met her at the Greystone Manor, and now we're like besties, and she's an amazing paranormal investigator. So yeah, anyway, all right, let me boop, boop, boop. Add you in. Molly. Here we go. Yeah. Oh, I might have to turn it again. Hang on, everybody. Let's do that. Yeah. There we go. But yeah, Instagram always cuts us out at an hour. But I wanted to make sure that you got to ask all the things that you wanted, and we could wrap it up whenever you wanted to. But I still got plenty of time, so you tell me, Molly. This is so wonderful.
Oh, this has been so cool talking to you. I did have another question I was thinking right when I want to ask you about your relationship with the Fae.
Definitely. I have a deep love and appreciation for the Fae. When I was younger, I feel like I was even closer to them. I definitely respect them. They are something to be respected for sure. Do not anger the Fae. You will regret it forever. But I would say they definitely have a very intricate part of just the spirit world as well as nature too. So I have a deep love and appreciation for them. I will leave them offerings and stuff too, but I still would say I have a stronger connection with some of the others or elementals and human spirits too. There's some fellow witches of mine that I feel like their practice is super centered around the Fae. But again, like I said, all of us do a bunch of different kinds of magic, or sometimes just a couple of key pieces. But I definitely love and respect them so, so much. And they're very powerful, most definitely. And there's a bunch of different kinds of Fae too. So some people have a connection with them because of their ancestry and where they hail from. That's a thing. So yeah, I love the Fae for sure.
Do you, in addition to ghosts, do you believe in other creatures, like I mentioned the Fae, but like aliens, cryptids?
Definitely. And also, I feel like sometimes some people, what they thought would be aliens are actually Fae. You will get these stories in Ireland of people going into the fairy circle, being kind of abducted, and then years later re-emerging without even being aged. Somebody might be saying alien, somebody might be saying Fae. What it actually is, it might be that one entity, right? And people are just calling it different names. Or there are definitely like different kinds of Fae or different kinds of alien. There are pixie Fae, there are like interdimensional ones, there are like, like different kinds of levels of earth elementals that people are like, ooh, what is that? Is it a gremlin? Is it a demon? What is it? I don't know. But the fact of the matter is, I do believe in a pretty much vast Marvel universe full of dimensions and spirits. There are so many cases that you don't know exactly what it is. A spirit that keeps walking down the hallway and never interacts with somebody, that might be just a ripple in time, almost kind of like how we can capture a photograph or film. It would be almost as silly as us trying to talk to an actor on a projection screen. Like that actor's not there. That's just kind of been burned into that piece, that time. Those emotions are there. But there's also a spirit that will interact with you. So us just having an encounter with the celluloid and then saying all spirits must be this one thing because of my one experience. No, there's so many different things going on. And I've been doing this my whole life pretty much. And then with a paranormal team like the Ghost Finders and many others, like and Nick Groff, like each experience is different, and you will run into different kinds of spirits or beings. Yeah, I believe in all of those things, and I believe that some of those beings just go by different names in different cultures.
So, Pedro asked a pretty tricky question, so I wanted to give this some breathing room. What could be done to avoid bad energy coming from a person that triggers your depression?
That's a good question. And that again comes from step one to strengthen yourself is to know your energy, your limits, your body, your mind. So exactly, it's like therapy or just working out. You need to know your strength limit. You need to know what might start to set you into depression, and you need to know how to kind of shield. I will jokingly say a lot to make people crack up. I'll be like, duck feathers. So let that just kind of slide right off your back. Like somebody is, if somebody is like having that negative energy, and then I hear that like really depressing song, for me, like a really twangy, depressing country song, like, like I'll have to like, okay, whoo, and kind of tune that out, or, you know, just let that kind of wash over and not affect me. And that takes mental strength to first recognize that when it's happening, recognize what's you, your thoughts, not that mood kind of shifting off on you. And that all takes, I would say the first step is to learn how to ground yourself. And to do that is very simple, and people can do it in a number of different ways. And that's just like basically like taking that breath, putting yourself kind of in your happy place, and putting up your shield, whether it be your vines, whether it be your purple lightning and smoke, whatever makes you feel comfy, put together, and then have that mantra inside your head. One of my favorites is, for me, is I banish all negative energy and entities from my space. Only positivity and positive energies and entities may remain. And the reason I do that is because, and see, this I would say is a big faux pas. Some people are like, oh, I want to banish all of the spirits away from me. I don't want to banish my nanny and dadads and my ancestors, or my others who are my homies that are standing right behind me, that are maybe giving me that extra protection. That's rude. Like, if you have all of your friends with you and there's somebody rude inside your house messing with you, you don't just like banish everybody. You only banish the person that is like being negative at you. So words have power. Make sure you're only pushing away what you want to kind of shield yourself from, not necessarily the magics or beings that would assist you. Hey, Nick, thanks for tuning in. Yeah, we're talking about all of the magics and paranormal. Oh, yeah, so exactly. It's like you need to know what your intent is, who you're speaking to. And just remember, like, not all spirits are something to be scared of or push away. There's so many vast differences in so many of them.
Yeah, my computer, I got too many tabs up.
You're totally fine. These have
right.
been such wonderful questions. Thank you so much, Molly.
Oh, it's been such a pleasure. Oh, this is a really big one, super like in the now. The planets on Monday are the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction in Aquarius. So are you going to are you preparing? And please share.
Well, there's a bunch of different things that I have going on right now. Like with Yule coming up, I have some like personal rituals that I'm doing for that. Mainly just making sure to spend some time with my ancestor spirits. That mainly happens on Samhain for me because the veil's super thin. So I always write letters that I'll like burn in the fire to send to them, so they can read it, and I just feel them close. But for that coming up, there's a few private things that I have preparing for just for myself. Like I said, there is a big rite that I'm planning on doing. I would probably say in the next year. But for that, I feel like a lot of witches are going to be taking that exhale and just self-cleansing, realigning, and kind of like pumping themselves up. It's like an kind of a pushing out the old, fortifying and reshaping the clay that is themselves into the tool that they want to do. And that all is their own choice and their own magics that they would like to do. So for me personally, I would say I'm doing a lot of crafting, showcasing change, rebirth, that living each moment and making sure I'm doing exactly what I want to be doing with this time that I have on this earth. Because living without regret in a very smart way too, because this is a way I look at life too. Like if I had a week left, you know, what would I want to be doing with my time? That's a good way to kind of help refocus. And I've been living my life in a way that I've been very pleased with, and I want to continue to do that. And the best way for me to keep doing that is to sharpen myself and refortify and strengthen myself. So that's what I'll be doing these upcoming weeks, and especially with that.
Yeah, so there's like a little bit of like superstition, right? You don't want to like spoil it. You don't want to like talk about it before it actually like manifests.
Sometimes, yeah, definitely. But you can definitely talk with some people. Again, it depends on the tradition. Sometimes people do that for their own peace of mind because it helps focus their intent. And talking about it, I'll say sometimes like it's, how will I say it, like the Macbeth method. You know, you talk about something like, oh, this could happen. Oh, really? I could be careful. Oh, and then it leads you down this spiraling path where if you had just been chill and maybe done the best, maybe you could have been king and nobody could have died. Like everybody calm down. Like don't overthink everything and make a mess of stuff. I think that's where that taboo thing comes from. But no, I will talk about certain things, but you can plan for rituals, right? But when it's that day and you're in that moment and you're speaking with those spirits, some things do change. That's why you'll see my rituals are different in each location, because I'll kind of like, all right, I have a feeling maybe what I'll do here, but it's not like by the book scripted, because I don't know until I'm meeting that new friend for coffee, and after I get to speak with them a little bit, then I'll be like, you know what, you said you liked croissants, let me order you a croissant. I don't show up with you know peanut butter cookies and be like, this is the gift I'm giving, and they're like, I'm allergic to nuts. Ooh. Oh, well, how terrible do I feel now, So nothing is super pre-planned, but you'll game plan for having some ritual work, especially if you know what you're wanting to do and the day you want to do it. But when it's stuff like just interacting with different locations, you don't always know. Hello, Frankie. I saw that you joined. This is like one of my fellow witches. He's like a brother to me, the one I was telling you about that I've shared a rite with him. I love you so much. And if you guys want to check out Card at the Crossroads, he's amazing. And there's some beautiful, beautiful workings that he's done in witchcraft that is amazing. And Jim Aguirre actually follows him as well as they follow each other. So the witch I was telling you about before, just absolutely wonderful. Where would someone go to learn? So what's great in this day and age, there are many wonderful books out there. There's also a lot of fluffy books that are not that helpful and kind of confusing, I will say. But pretty much everything from Troy Books and the Museum of Witchcraft in Cornwall, as far as traditional witchcraft, I definitely support that, and a lot of their books there. And it depends on what you want to learn. Like, you might want to learn more about different magic that comes from Japan. It's all, reach out to the communities that you feel right to. If your ancestry has a lot of, like, you know, you have a lot of Norse in your background and you want to learn more about those gods and deities, that's what you'd want to go and study. I always say, like, not everybody's path is the same. Some of the stuff that I do, and some of these witches are my best friends, like, they're like, that is something that's a little bit too spooky for me, so I support you and your ability to do an earth burial ritual at a graveyard, but I can't do that. I'm going to stay and do this kind of magic, but they don't judge me for it. That's just our differences. So my path is not the only path or the right path at all for certain people. So you can learn whatever you feel is comfortable to you and whatever you feel your magic is, you know, drawing you to. But I can definitely recommend Troy Books as a good starting point to kind of see where you can and just study your history. If you learn about witchcraft and your own family history, it'll help take you in the direction that you want to.
All right. Thank you, Megan, for allowing us to join you on your live. If anyone is interested in our club, Alfred State _paranormal X, we are on Instagram, and that's, I think, where I'm coming from right now. Also, to see our previous guests, you can visit our Spotify link in our bio. Enjoy your celebrations this winter solstice, and we wish you a wonderful new year.
Thank you so much, Molly. Lots of love to you guys. Bye, paranormal family. Love you. Thanks for having me. Bye.